Hello and welcome to Talk at the Turf with me, your host, Jimmy the Mower. And tonight on the panel we have Brian Sandals, Bradley Tennant and Paul Jackson. Now, Brian Sandals from Turf Care Blog, tell us a bit about yourself.
Obviously from Turf Care Blog, which I do in my spare time. And then my day job, obviously, is where I am now is for Sussex Cricket. I'm the senior groundsman at their academy ground. So yeah, that keeps me very busy this time of year. And we also have football here in the winter and still ball in the summer. And yeah, it's got a busy site. So.
Blimey, busy site then, busy site. And then Bradley, a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm Bradley from International Greenkeepers Fire, also the head of grounds down in Reading at Crossfields School. Pretty similar to what Brian does. We've got every sport under the sun here and everything else in between. So we're pretty busy as well, especially at the moment.
Yeah. We're all busy at the moment. Well then, Paul, and a little bit about yourself. Not too much so, hey?
All right, well, I'm Paul Jackson. I'm head groundsman at Tynemouth Cricket Club. Been here for 25 years. I'm also the ACB pitch advisor for Northumberland. We do small-scale contracting in schools, and we also look after non-league football for the back Northern League teams.
Oh, fantastic. So there you go. A wealth of knowledge on the panel this evening. And this evening's topic, we're going to be talking about turf under stress, especially sort of turf under stress during drought conditions. We're heading into summer at the moment. It's getting quite warm. You know, we're from different parts of the country. I'm here in the Midlands. We're in mid-20s now for a couple of weeks and not a lot of rain about. So how do you deal with it? We'll go to you first, Brian. How are you getting on at the moment down at the cricket club?
Yeah, luckily we got some rain today, but everything's covered. So we're not much of the crucial areas are going to get it. So our way is we've just started on non-ionic wetting agents. So we're using them after wickets have been used. So to try and help them come back because obviously... Hold
on one second. A non-ionic wetting agent.
Yeah. So
for a bloke who sits on a mower all day long, can you just tell me what that is, please?
I think a normal wetting agent kind of fluctuates in the soil and affects clay, but these don't. I can't go too deep into it because I don't know too much. But some county boys have put me onto it, and they've been using it for a while. So, and when you've got a lot of games and you haven't got time to really get water on, so these are it helps just push a bit more water through and around and get water into the surface.
Yeah. And have you found it useful and worthwhile?
We've only just started doing it in our net area, which dries out really excessively quick because it's hybrid wickets. So the other thing is we do now is we try and keep our height of cuts up. So our wickets, where we can, we keep them at 8 mil. And our outfields, we try and keep them up around 15. Watering, we try and do that in the mornings and the evenings and use sort of shaded sheets. And so there's just a few things that we're doing here.
Got you. So Bradley, you got a lot of multi-sport use where you are. You know, are you using wetting agents as well?
Yeah, where we can. We're very fortunate. We've got sort of about 15 acres of field, but the only issue is we don't have any irrigation, bar a couple of pipes, which is a bit frustrating. But yeah, we're out there with the wetting agents constantly, especially around the path edges, which tend to go first. You know, because they're shallow, the concrete underneath them and everything else.
What exactly do the wetting agents do? Are they sort of like a magnet for water to slow the transition of water down?
Yeah, essentially you've got it. They basically just hold that moisture in the soil a lot better than the soil would itself. And then obviously allows the plant to use it up before it goes. And then if you can get some more water on top of it, you know, it's a little bonus. We're quite thankful because we got some down and it's just started raining. So a bit of a win-win today. So, but it'll probably keep raining now for the next 3 weeks, knowing us. So
there you go. Well, Paul, you're not only working on your own ground, but working on other people's grounds as a contractor. I suppose these sort of things vary like massively, don't they, from site to site?
Yes, it's soil conditions is a major factor. One of the factors we also have is because of the way the season has been natured with extension of football and rugby, is we've got a lot of jobs which are in between, if you know what I mean. So we've got season jobs still outstanding. We've got some jobs which have seeded and we've got germination. And we've also got some jobs where we're fertilising and spraying as well. So it's, instead of having it in a block, it's jumping between jobs, really. Cricket-wise, a bit of a struggle. We've had about 28 games in the last 14, 15 days over the 3 pitches. We've got the majority on my main square, which is a bit of a problem, because obviously we're in Premier League. We're having county games, county junior games, and then nighttime games and friendlies and practices. It's just squeezing everything in. So what we're doing is we're not going down the wet agent route. We're just putting the watering early in the morning and very late at night. I mean, 21 pitches, it takes about 4 hours to get water onto mine. So it's normally about 1:15. The last 2 nights it's been 1:45. Had an early night there last night. I was in bed for 11 o'clock, I suppose. So not too bad. Not too bad. But it does vary between site to site. It does vary between site to site and grass types as well, yes.
Yeah. I suppose then, Brian, it makes it a little bit easier than working sort of predominantly on one site, and you know exactly what you're dealing with from year to year, and obviously you can make adjustments accordingly.
Yes, it's much easier. I don't know how Paul gets around and manages so many facilities and with low water pressures. You know, the water pressure we got here is amazing. We've just had a tank put in and it's really easy here. But obviously, we have a lot of hours because a lot of our work is done before and after they play, so the hours can be quite long, and the watering has to be done sort of after generally. The hours can be like Paul's quite long.
And we're talking about, you know, keeping grass on there in sort of stress conditions. I mean, we all like to grow grass, and it's what we all do. I mean, can you still sort of feed at this time of year, or do you just don't put it under any undue stress? Or I don't know. What are your thoughts, Bradley, on that?
Yeah, you can still feed this time of year. You pretty much your best option I'd say probably only option really is liquid feeds this time of year, because the grass is just so hungry. You need to get your nitrogen down and everything else. And you're not going to be able to do that granular, especially if you can't get any sort of irrigation or anything on your fields, because you're not going to get it into the ground. You're going to start burning leaf, burning ground, killing your grass, and you don't want that. You know, you're better off not putting it down than risking it, really. But yeah, liquid feed is, especially this time of year, is the way forward.
Is the way forward. That's it. And I presume for you, Paul, that's the same. Is it liquid feeds across the board?
No, we are slow release or control release granular, and we time operations for fertilizing when there's rain due. So we get ours on just about when it's about to rain. So the last rain we had here was the last time we fertilized, which was nearly every pitch on our sites here. But like I say, we're sort of struggling a little bit because of the way the governing bodies have extended the season. It's not as straightforward as just do them all on block, you know. So we've still got some fertilizing to do. We have started some selective weed spraying as well, but obviously that's now stopped because drought stress as well. You know, you can apply selective and burn off your grass if your grass is under stress. But no, our fertilizing is nearly all granular, so nearly all mini gran, and it's all controlled release. I'll not mention the product we use, but it's got a 3-month lifespan.
Oh, got you. So we all lift in heights of cut then as well, I suppose, to try and leave a bit more leaf on the plant and hopefully give it a bit more chance to sort of keep itself going. You know, what sort of height of cut you got there on cricket outfields at the moment?
Well, I'm still at 13 millimeters on the outfield, and still 13 millimeters on my square, and my pitches are now 4.5 millimeters. But I have a tendency to cut down on mown frequency as opposed to height of cut.
Right.
And I also keep my covers on a lot. So especially in my match pitches, I retain me coverage, which obviously retains the moisture. Especially I water cover with the pitches are wet, and then obviously take the covers off and control the environment by taking the cover off and doing me rolling. But last Saturday's pitch was very interesting because I never touched it from the Thursday. The covers came off the Saturday morning. It was once over with the Dennis, once over with the heavy roller and marked, and it was a fantastic wicket. I mean, Stuart Pointer, who plays for Durham, says it's probably the best pitch he's played on in the North East Premier League this season. and there was very little done to it because all your preparation is basically done early season when you do your pre-season rule and you're consolidating it then. So I've found over the last 2 years with COVID that it seems to be the less pre-season rolling you do, as long as you do it at the right time, you seem to get more value and your square performance better. I don't know if Bradley or Brian thinks that, but I don't know.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because I've had exactly the same experience last week, whereas, you know, we were down on prep a little bit and then the good weather came along and then all of a sudden it was pushing out this amazing wicket and we basically did nothing to it. And we were sort of scratching his head going, hang on, you know, we've not really done mass amounts, you know, compared to what we'd usually do, but it's been better than ever. You know, is this just a coincidence, or is actually, like you say, is just the timing of what you're doing a lot more important than actually getting, I need to get on that wicket for 10 hours this week, you know, or actually, can we do that in a couple of weeks' time and do 3 hours, and will that be pretty, you know, the same sort of outcome?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. It's really interesting. And have you altered your height to cut as well, Bradley? Or what?
Yeah, I've gone wild. Thankfully, we only service children here, so we've gone right up to 20 on the outfield, which gives us, you know, so much more time, especially on the during the drought and everything. Because we've got really strange areas where the top end of the fields the water table's really high. And then the lower ends, it's actually quite low, but that's because of like the ditch work that we've got around the fields and how they hold the water at the top. So yeah, we have to sort of try and balance that with it as well, because, you know, you turn your back and the top of the field's now 4 foot high and the bottom's like hasn't grown in weeks. It's a difficult one.
So with that 20 mil height of cut on there, have you reduced the cutting frequency at all, or increased the cutting frequency, or is it just about the same?
No, just like Paul, we've reduced ours now. We're typically 2 or 3 times a week on the outfields and on the fields, but at the moment it's sort of once a week. Stay off it, keep the stress off the pitch. It doesn't really need it. And then other times, you know, we're thinking, do we even need to mow it? Can we send the Amazon over it or something else and just, you know, pick up the debris and just keep that leaf on the grass for a little bit longer. Keep that moisture in, keep it alive.
Yeah. How about you, Brian? The height of cut, and is yours
15 mil? But yeah, it's 15 on the square, 15 on the outfield. But I don't tell the cricketers that, so
yeah,
they just say it's too long. So they never moan about it either. So they never. So if they actually said it was slow, or, you know, and I could see the ball wasn't getting to the boundary and things, but they don't. And I've got very limited irrigation on the outfield. So yeah, I'm trying to protect the plant a bit. So I think they'd like, I mean, I always get told it's quicker here than probably some of the main grounds. So I'm getting away with it. So, and the grass tends to thin out this time of year anyway. You have a thinner squares. The outfield's a bit thinner, so the ball tends to roll quicker anyway.
Yeah. Do you know what? I only, you know, the places I mow and stuff, they're just general amenity places. A few cricket outfields, council owned fields and stuff. And I have noticed that as we've got dry over the last couple of weeks, it is starting to thin out a little bit anyway. But we tend to have on our fields, because we don't have the control that you have. We don't have the irrigation, the feeds, and the selective weed spray, etc., and herbicides. I tend to notice a second flush, like we sort of due some rain anytime soon. And as soon as that rain hits, that grass will thicken up and it will really, really go. And we have to get on it like crazy. And then once you've had that second flush, it then tends to thin out, and then just sort of managing it along, sort of, you know, guiding it through until the end of the season, if that makes sense. But it's interesting at height of cut. Is there any other way you can keep some water in there? I've heard people using germination sheets across certain areas to try and hold a bit of moisture down. Does anybody do that?
Yeah, just create some shade. People will be surprised. You know, just look under the trees at the moment where the grass is and it's green. Look at, you know, where it isn't treed and you've got brown dying grass. So pretty much speaks for itself. Obviously, you don't want to be covering it 24 hours a day constantly, because you're just going to open up disease farms essentially. But if you can get some good coverage for a good few hours and just keep that moisture in, because constantly that plant is transpiring and doing its business, and the moisture's leaking out of it. So if we can keep a bit more of that in, it's a bonus all round.
Yeah. That's good. We're all adjusting our heights of cut then, and obviously wetting agents use where they can, and germination sheets another good call. Do you use any call for that on your places, Paul, or you just sort of?
No, it's the area is so vast. It's just nature takes its, it has to take its chance, and just let nature take its course. There's not a great deal we can do about it. Pitch, winter sports pitch wise, we just don't have the manpower, and we don't have the sheeting. But cricket wise, we've obviously got to do the best by just keeping my pitches with the covers on, and like I say, not doing as much. Not putting the grass under stress, watering as much as we can when we can, but with a crazy schedule of cup ties and limited overs games and minor counties games, it's very difficult. It's very difficult as well. I mean, I don't know how some of these guys that haven't got resources like myself, like little ground with no covers and they're just burning away. I don't know how they manage. At all.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you mentioned there, it was interesting, the winter sports pitches. We're talking about grass under stress at the moment, and the plant being under stress, and we're in a time of drought. But obviously we're all sort of thinking ahead, aren't we? We're already thinking towards the autumn and maybe even the winter. And when we're moving into the winter months, I mean, what do you do then to sort of protect your grass from stress? I mean, especially on a cricket outfield, as a managed sort of ground there, Brian, what do you do? What sort of measures do you bring in?
Well, I guess winter is more probably maybe red thread disease. That probably, so which basically is a lack of feeds, so lack of nitrogen. So you try and keep it fed all the time it's growing. It's growing growing quite well for about 10 months a year, isn't it? Really. Right. Sort of aeration in the winter to help the water sort of get into the soil and stuff, which is sort of that helps as well and gets your roots down ready for next summer as well. And bringing the heights of cuts up and things like that really for the sort of help the plant a bit.
Yeah, I suppose you're lucky, with the cricket, you got a chance to work on it, and you've got things to do on that cricket outfield, and obviously on your square through winter, and there's not really much usage on there, is there? I mean, but the other guys, they got football pitches there, it's like Bradley as well, at a school with things going on all year round. How do you manage the grass stress in winter?
It sort of is what it is.
There's a big sigh. Did you see that? A deep breath.
The biggest thing is definitely the traffic, the bruising of the grass, the damage, and the recovery. We just with the temperatures, the low temperatures, you just don't get that recovery, and you unfortunately, it's the same in football, high level football at training grounds. You'll get to a point where sort of February, you'll be looking at goal mouths and going, there's not a single blade of grass on any of the goal mouths. And that's just, it is what it is. You can be the best of the best at the top of the game. But, when you've got players using a pitch 8 hours a day in the same goal mouth, you're not going to keep grass on it. There's no magical formula. You're not doing it. You just got to learn to live with it. Can you try and get the players to move around? Can you go out there divoting? Can you get some, Brian said, can you aerate it? Can you get some seed on it? Can you get light rigs out? More feed on it, these sort of things. You can throw a lot of different things at it, but ultimately it's the winter and the grass is pretty dormant. So, you've just sort of got to grin and bear for a few months and then it's back in the spring.
Yeah, that's it. All right, you, Paul, any special secrets for keeping it going through winter?
Well, keeping the heavy machinery off it is normally a bonus. We're trying not to put anything too heavy on. We usually let our mines a lot during pitch preparation in the winter on my winter sports pitches, especially across the back for the school, which is a dual purpose, so it's all year round usage. Verti drain. We normally look at verti draining or using a shockwave linear aerator with being on clay soils. Get it done early-ish. October at the very latest, and then a regime of brushing and slitting, really. We invested a few years ago. We invested in the RPR technology through Baron Brugg. shouldn't have mentioned the name, trade name, of course, but it actually worked really well. It regenerating ryegrass. It worked really well in the winter. But now, because we've got more and more usage, and it takes that bit longer for the RPR to establish, we've now gone back to multi-sport, the perennial ryegrass, perennial rye. And I mean, obviously we've got enough RPR in there now. It's a very good product. I think it's ideal for schools because it's obviously regenerating in the winter months and it repairs very rapidly. But yeah, just keeping, like Bradley says, the amount of traffic, you've got to, manage your traffic better than, and think of ways around it. Raise heights of cut, brushing a lot, and not the roller. Definitely don't roll it.
There's a lot of things like with the sort of council football pitches that I look after and whatever. Oh, it's all getting a bit rutted up, mate. Can you roll it? Can you roll it? We just want it to re-roll.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And you know what? Before you start looking into these things, that's what people do. You squash it down and you roll it out and you squash everything out of it, and then it doesn't grow. And they don't know. I see Bradley nodding there. Go on, tell me.
I've seen it happen on rugby. And I won't say where it was. But they went out with a roller, like you said, absolutely flattened it because it was smashed, to be honest. You needed more than a divot fork. You needed a tractor to go out there to get some of the divots out. They rolled the heck out of it. And then come the summer, it was just like a slab of concrete, essentially. It was just bare. That area, the scrum area, around the 5-yard line, it was just nothing. And the rest of the pitch is lovely and all scratching their head as to what's gone on. And it's like, come on.
It does happen. And obviously, in the line of work we do, everybody's a critic, aren't they? And everybody's got an idea of what you should be doing and how you should do it. And
well, I think the biggest thing as well, obviously,
these things.
With that, there is no one ever saying that there's no textbook on things not to do. There's a lot of ideas on you could do this works, and this works, but no one ever, writes anything to say, actually, like what Paul said, you want to keep your machinery off in the winter. No one says that, apart from people that are trying to express it. But otherwise, if you read the turf textbooks, the magazines, at no point is it saying, putting these things across, which are actually quite important.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, as like you say, the grass is under stress, and it's just as important to not do things as it is to do things. Really,
there's a book for you, Brad. There, isn't there?
I have thought about it a few times.
Little pamphlet or something, little leaflet, or be really good.
That's it.
I'll
tell you what, somebody should write something, and you could always put it on one of those popular blog websites that we have in our industry. Can't really think of one offhand.
It'd be good. We could do a pack. It's a really good idea, actually. Get loads of them from the community and get so everyone else writes it as well, and it all comes in as one, and put it all together and push it out. It'd be great.
Yeah, a big lot of just a list of do's and don'ts. That's it, And then you could always have a section in there with other people and just what's worked for me. That's it, and just put that down in there. There's a lot of ideas. We live. I know our country's only small, really, isn't it, compared to other countries around the world? But like the variety of weather we get within a few miles is crazy, and the ground conditions and soil conditions across, such a short distance is phenomenal, really. So it's an interesting subject, isn't it, right across the board and right across the country. Really interesting. So we've covered most of the things under stress. Have you got anything else to add on there, sort of promoting grass growth through droughts or even winter months? Anything?
No, I think it's just a case of, worms is the big thing in the winter months. It's there's not really a product for worm control anymore. So you've just got to do it, drag brushing. We've got to get through to people that drag brushing is the way forward in this industry. And yes, it takes time. Drag brushing or drag matting about fields and football fields, and even cricket squares. Nobody seems to think of drag brushing. And one of the phrases I really don't like is when people say, "Oh, I've put the facility to bed now." Well, you should never put a facility to bed in a modern cricket square. It should never be put to bed. I think we've just got to be more proactive on obviously the worm control. in disease management. You get a lot of, you know, obviously fusarium in certain grass species is a big thing because people don't brush their pitches, brush their squares, brush etc. And a lot of this disease because obviously the moisture's on the leaf getting moved around, and it's a basic thing to do.
Yeah, people don't
One
realise.
of the big frustrations I have.
You lose typically around 30% of your grass due to worm casts. You know, when they're smearing them with the rollers, and that's a lot of grass considering you've got all that traffic on it.
Hold on. What did you say? 30%? Oh, write this down. You lose 30% of your grass.
Yeah, roughly around 30% of your grass you lose like smearing worm casts. And it's really, you know, it's a large amount, and people, you know, they don't think about it. And when you put in your traffic and the grass is already stressed, and you after your bad summer months, if you've not got irrigation and stuff, you know, if you're only left with sort of 70% to start with, losing an extra 30, you know, you've already put yourself against it just by not doing basic things like brushing.
That's maybe where the wheatgrass comes in. Maybe it gets in them worm casts, and you know, we wonder where it comes from, but possibly where it does.
I think another thing, which is probably right up Jimmy's street, with Jimmy obviously doing a lot of council or local authority ground, is local authorities don't, you know, their maintenance is very poor. You know, they're quite happy to buy a big John Deere and a big Trimax and roll around on that all summer. But when it comes to winter months, what do they actually do? You know, you don't see them having this John Deere with a slit hour stuff on. You know, some of the local authority grounds maintenance is very, very poor. You know, very poor indeed. And you know, grassroots football and grassroots sports struggles a bit because of it. You know, but we don't seem to be making any inroads through professional bodies with local authorities. But you know, specialist contracts like Jimmy, obviously, it's a way forward for you to improve your lower level sort of, you know, football pitches. You know,
that's exactly right, Paul. That's where I come in. The mainstay of my business is parish councils and local authorities. They pay me to go on, and they pay me to cut their facilities, whether it be a football pitch, a cricket outfield, a children's play park, amenity grass, public playing fields, verges, whatever it is. And then I normally liaise with the playing fields committee or the sports clubs who use these facilities, and we negotiate some extra terms to have the grass cut on a more frequent basis throughout the summer. And then obviously as some winter maintenance and just try and improve the facilities for them within their budget. So we're always working the strict budgets. I'm very lucky that I have the connections that I do have, and I can get machinery down, and people, you know, would like to have a video and me to use their machinery, and I can use it, and I use that my sort of sway to try and improve things for other people. You know, that's how it goes. I think without that, we'd really struggle. I really do, because you're right. There's no budget for that sort of stuff outside of the season. And when you said, "Oh, we put our facility to bed," a lot of local authorities will run round and you'll see them cut the grass the first week in October, maybe the second week in October, and then that's it. Then until March, they just put the machinery away, and that's the end of it. It's a shame, really, because there's a hell of a lot of good ground out there that a lot of people could use if only there was a bit of extra effort put in. I know it's all about budgets, but you know, a little bit does go a very, very long way, doesn't it? A very long way. And like you say, you're losing 30% to worm casts. I never realised that. I never realised that was one of the biggest contributing factors to the facilities that I'm sort of working on. You know, I know that I'm always start the season on the back foot. I understand that because that's the nature of my business. But I never realised worm casts were such a big thing. Obviously, they've never been sprayed. If I can get out there with a brush and make a difference, that's something I'll have to do, and that's something I've learned today, and I've written that down. I'll have to have a look at that for sure. Yeah.
Well, even if you can do other things, you know, people don't realise maybe like what we've done here. If you can put ditches around fields, stuff like that, lower the water table, the worms aren't going to come to the top when it's raining. Just real basic, simple things that got overlooked, and everyone jumps to a chemical, and you think, actually, why are these worms coming to the top? What they're doing, they're being flushed up. You know, can we reduce this? You know, can we get the water through the soil a lot quicker? You know, stuff like that. It all goes back to the education, and I drill it constantly. and there's never any right or wrong way. There's just better ways of doing things than the ways that, you know, because obviously there's a lot of grounds that are currently still working and still functional, but getting the lower end of the maintenance. Whereas, you know, if they can do a few other simple things with it, they can become a lot more of a better ground.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, a little does go a long way, doesn't it? It really does, really does. It's been really interesting. I've enjoyed that one, and I've learned a few things, well, more than a few things, so I'm happy with that. And I have to point out my little England flag here in the middle of the Euros at the moment. And anybody got any predictions for the either quarterfinals, semi-finals, or even the final? Or anyone like to pick a winner?
I think it's too hard to say at this stage still. You know, it's been a really good contest.
I think I can predict.
Don't get any splinters sitting on that fence, will you? Right, Paul, you give me your... Go on.
I'm going to predict that Scotland have got a short journey home after tomorrow night. That's I did predict Wales to win last night, but I took 2-1 instead of 2-0. So I don't know. I mean, I would like to see Denmark just because of the Ericsson thing, you know. I'd like to see them, but I don't know. It's a hard one to call. England, of course, are in the mix, but it's too. I think it's too tight to call. There's a lot of good teams in the competition. Not Germany. Not Germany or Scotland.
What do you reckon then, Brian? You fancy anybody in it, or you? No?
France, I think it's very easy because it's the only game I've seen because I've been just busy at work. But yeah, I'll go for France. You never know with them though because they're unpredictable, aren't they? And they all get upset, and then they're a funny lot. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, it's an interesting tournament, and especially like being played 12 months late, you'd say everything's a little bit different, and you know, it can throw up a wild card, can't it, really? So we're all sort of interested in looking at it. But as you say, we all want to watch the matches, but we're at our peak time and we're all busy. And, you know, I came home tonight, I fell asleep, woke up, cold chicken nuggets and chips for my tea before I had to come live on air. So that was it. That's it. The lifestyle of a turf influencer. There you go.
I wasn't asleep the last time. It was a protest against not winning patch of the day. That's what. I wasn't. I didn't because you don't like us Northerners. It was like hashtag patch of the day protest.
Recount.
A recount. Yeah, that's it. It's a random draw. Apart from he never wins. I don't know how that quite works, but we'll see.
You told me
you
on.
Can't have a recount if you've never put in. You never even consider it.
Never even consider it, no. It's a random draw, but Paul O'Brien never win. How about that?
You don't put me in it.
Yeah. You seem like a nice chap, Bradley. If you ever want to send a few bottles of beer and some scratchings, I'm sure you might win it one of the day. Yeah. There's no bungs going on here. None. Do you know what? I love it when the professional people enter. I think it's fantastic, but I'd rather somebody with a picture of a dog, a couple of goalposts, and a Flymo won it. You know, it makes my day when that happens. It does. Just like everybody who's a professional enters it, and it's brilliant, and everybody loves to see the pitches, the golf courses. It's fantastic, man. It's fantastic. The level of support is unbelievable, but to see somebody, with a back garden and a bit of a muddy area where the goalposts are, a dog and a Flymo, that'll do me. It's nice, and I think the professionals like it too because they just get even more wound up every week, don't they, Paul?
Oh no! I mean, I just find a different way to send you a stupid entry now. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, it's obviously my ball patch of the day. I mean, I've ripped my pants, so I'll have a patch on my pants for next one. So I'll keep you busy with me patches of the day.
Oh my goodness! This is a family-friendly channel than a family-friendly competition.
Keep it clean, Paul.
Keep it clean.
We'll save that for when we get back together at BTME.
Oh God! Again. Talking of which, is anybody off to any of these like Festival of Turf? I presume everyone's busy, aren't they, in the summer?
we're going to head down to Sage, well, up to Sage, should I say. But apart from that, I don't think we'll get time to do much else.
Right. I got asked the other day if I was going to Sage by one of the companies. What day are you going on? Do you know? Or
I can't remember what day it is, but we're probably going to go on the first day of the 3.
right,
But we're pretty flexible. But it tends to be, you know, with turf shows, the first day is always the best one. People are happy. People are, you know, fresh.
Yeah.
You go on the 3rd day, the last day, all the goodies are gone. You know, everyone's talked out. A couple of stands have already gone home. You know, the pub's empty.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll try and get there on the foot. It's not far from me. It's only an hour or so from me.
Yeah.
So I'll try and have a look at that one. So I wouldn't mind getting down there and seeing what it's all about. It's just I can't predict, you know, the way things are. I cover a lot of sites, and if it rains for a few days and then it's dry, I've just got to go and do what I've got to do.
Yeah.
Flex around it, you know. This like the BTME and stuff. It's great, isn't it? November, December, January, February. That's the time to have somewhere, I think, and get a lot of us there. Really, and all meet up. It's good. It's been great. I really enjoyed that this evening.
Yeah. It's been a big miss, you know, the social side of it, you know, the BTMAs, you know, it's the Salt X's. It's been a big miss, but obviously with this new Delta strain that it's rife up here at the minute, North Tyneside at the moment, so I can't see me, you know, basically going very far at the present moment. I mean, we've got 11 players in COVID protocol at the minute. We've got our entire 3rd team. 1 person tested positive, and 10 are self-isolating. All negative, but self-isolating. So our 3rd team's been up with Dad's Army on Saturday. So that should be interesting to watch. I mean, need some Bulldog BDX for some of them old people in their aching limbs.
I must just say that other release sprays are available, although Bulldog BDX is probably my preferred brand at the moment. So there you go. Right, I've really enjoyed that tonight, then, folks. It's been great. It's really informative. I've learned a lot. We've had a good laugh, you know. So it's been great. Thanks a lot for joining in, and hope to see you all on the next one.